Hello everybody and welcome back. We're on questions 5 through 8 now on our 2016 midterm, calculus midterm. Question 5 here, find the correct statement about the function f of x. So let's just carefully read these. F of x is undefined. F of x is defined but not monotonous, which is an expression you might remember from graphs and functions from grade 11 or whichever equivalent you took. Monotonous means either it's always going up or always going down. Okay? Always increasing or always decreasing. Never the other, always just one. But we don't want to specify which one. It's just a fancy math word. If I recall correctly, a number of profs actually had to explain this word during the midterm, which maybe is a comment on high school education? I don't know. Anyway, CF is specifically decreasing, or DF is increasing. So increasing, decreasing, not monotonous would mean sometimes it increases, sometimes it decreases. A is f of x is undefined, and E, none of these. Alright, so what function do we actually have? Well, it's quite an interesting function. I'm going to do minus 5 over 2, and then 2 to the 3x, well that's really just 2 to the 3 to the x. And 3 to the 2x, that's really 3 to the 2 to the x. This is a minus 5 over 2, 8x over 9x. Really, they're just trying to hide an exponential from us. Okay, 8 over 9 to the x, 8 over 9 is less than 1. So 8 over 9 to the x looks sort of something like this. And then if I multiply it by a negative number, that just sort of doesn't quite flip it, but it sort of flips it and stretches it out a little bit. So graph kind of looks like this. Well, that's increasing, and that's D, and we're done. Not a whole lot to that question. As long as you're able to understand that, oh, I can change this into an exponential function, and you're able to read the idea of what that exponential function is and transform it, it's basically it's a high school question almost. Okay? Other than the weird word monotonous, okay? Which you may have seen in high school, you may not. 6. Find the domain of the function f of x is the square root of 25 minus 5 to the negative 4x. Okay, finding domains. Again, this is not really something we talk about a whole lot in Calc 1000. Finding domains and ranges, these are things you're supposed to be able to know before you get here. But, you know, if you're curious, read 1.1 through 1.3 in your textbook. That covers the basics. Okay, finding the domain. So you can either work outwards, starting from the root x, or you can start inwards with this x here. It's entirely what you want. So I usually start from the outside. So root, what does root accept? Well, root allows numbers between 0 and infinity, and you're allowed to have the 0 in there. So what do we need? Well, 25 minus 5 to the minus 4x needs to come out to be between 0 and infinity. Okay? Really any positive numbers there will work. So 25 is a nice fixed number. 5 to the something is always positive. So we're doing 25 minus some positive numbers. What can we do here? Well, at most, we could be subtracting off 5 to the 2. So minus 4x needs to be less than or equal to 2. Because if it were equal to 2, we'd have 25 minus 5 to the 2. That'd be 25 minus 25. That would be 0. That's allowed. But anything even slightly more than 2, and you'd have 25 minus something that's more than 25, you have a negative number. Other than that, is there sort of a lower bound as to what the minus 4x can be? Not really. You can make this as small as you want. Remember, the graph of 5 to the x will look something like this. So the numbers that you plug into it, if you make them smaller and smaller and smaller, the values just get closer to 0. So this expression gets closer to 25, and the root expression is happy. It's happy to square root things like 24 or 24.5 or anything. Alright, so minus 4x just needs to be less than or equal to 2. Let's divide by minus 4. Okay. Now, very crucially, when we divide or multiply by a negative number, the sign flips around. So this is negative 1 over 2. So x just needs to be greater than or equal to negative 1/2. And I see that C is such a response there. All right, so that's 6. 7. Solve the equation ln of e to the x minus 1 equals 1. Well, what cancels out ln? E. So e to the ln e to the x minus 1, not x for some reason, is equal to e to the 1. I would just raise e to both sides. But now e and the ln cancel out, so I get e to the x minus 1 is e to the 1, which is e. And then e to the x is e plus 1, just moving the 1 over to the other side. What cancels out e to the? Ln. So x is going to be ln e plus 1. Is that one of my answers? You betcha. It's A. All right, 8. Find the domain of the function and a formula for its inverse. Okay, so again, talking about domains, you just ask what numbers will this function accept? And this is a rational function, so the only thing it doesn't want to do is divide by 0. When is the denominator 0? When x is negative 1. So I take a look at my possible domains. This one omits negative 1. This one omits 1. It has negative 1 in it. So that one's already out. Same with C. D also skips minus 1. So it could be A, it could be D, or if neither of them work, we're looking at an answer of E. All right, so we need to find an inverse. How do we find inverses? Swap the x's and the y's. Okay, and then we have to rearrange and just get y equals. And we've done a couple of these, and there's a bunch of them in your textbook. So we just go ahead and rearrange as needed. So we'll say xy minus y is minus 1 minus x. And then we can factor out a y from here. And then negative x minus 1 divided by x minus 1. Now, I don't see this written exactly, although D catches my eye. If I take out a minus 1 on top, I'll get x plus 1 over x minus 1. And yeah, that's D. So D's our answer. And would you look at the time? We've already made it through 4 questions here. Our next batch will be 9 through 12, so if you're looking for those specifically, feel free to watch the next video. Until then, take care and have a wonderful day.